Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Midweek Metagame. I'm your host, Gabriel Nassif, joined by my one regular co-host, Edgar Magalesh. How you doing, Edgar?
Good. I just got back from Calgary. Took a red eye last night, so I'm a little tired, but I'm feeling pretty good.
All right. Canada also has a bunch of time zones.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely gonna get into that. Your main event didn't go super well, but you did make up for it in an open, so that was nice. We're gonna get into your final deck choice, your tournaments, thoughts. We're gonna go over the results of the four RCs of the weekend. Just pretty much all modern this week. Kind of the state of modern, I guess, after this whole round of RC. So lots to get into. Before we get into all of that, if you want to support us, patreon.com/midweek metagame is the place to do so. You can also just, go give us follows on social media, all that good stuff. You can check out my sponsors, TCG Player and Ultimate Guard as well. That always helps me out. And slightly new thing, we're gonna upload on Tuesday. We were committed to uploading on Wednesday at the latest every week. So we record on Monday or Tuesday. But I think what we're going to do and what makes sense is when we record on Monday, like today, we're going to upload on Tuesday. And then if we record on Tuesday, we'll upload on Wednesday. But this way you get the podcast as soon as possible. Not that things get obsolete in one day, but it's always nice to have that extra day to kind of use the information if you have tournaments coming up on the weekend or whatnot. So I think we're gonna start doing that. Makes sense. Um, but yeah, another week, another round of RC. It is not especially planned that way. That they had four big RCs at the end, not on purpose. I think the 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 people who organize the turns just get a window from Wizards and they just decide when they want to have their RC. So kind of a coincidence, but that means like a lot of coverage this weekend. I got to watch a bit from home, lots of results, and you had a tournament. You played in your RC. I didn't play in mine. So what did you end up playing last week? You were leaning towards Izzet pretty strongly, I think.
Yeah, was leaning Izzet towards the end of last week. I had some waning thoughts about just audibling to Jeskai, but ended up not deciding to do that. Actually, towards the end of the week, I had this sneaking feeling that Jeskai was just kind of a weak deck, and I kind of didn't really want to be on it. I think that it just kind of has a now that people are ready for it, it kind of struggles to beat everything at once, and I'm not sure that that's a solvable problem for the deck. So I just felt good about playing Izzet. I liked my list. I was kind of waffling back and forth between playing Izzet and Teamer, like we talked about last week. I ended up settling on Izzet for the main event, and ended up regretting it pretty heavily because I played against a lot of high noons throughout the tournament and a lot of matchups where pick your poison would have been pretty good. But I'm still not positive which one would have been better in hindsight. I just know that given the way my tournament played out, I wish I played the green splash.
Yeah, in the main event, you played fairly stock. The one into the Flonma, I guess, was the the
Ye-
surgical
Yeah,
that
that was
that
the
the surgical that turned into the Flonma.
Right, yeah. That was the last minute inclusion. I also added an Aether Gust to the sideboard. I think that's the only other main difference from the list I was talking about last week. The reasoning for the Into the Flood Maw was just to have like a catch-all answer for stuff like High Noon and stuff like it's pretty good against Neoform or pretty good against Titan. Um, and if I was gonna have it in my 75, I think it made a little bit more sense to have it in the main deck. So that's how the surgical ended up getting relegated to the sideboard. But um, yeah, I think it would have been better off to just have the more concrete answers because I ended up drawing it a few times against these high noon decks and it wasn't even good enough. It's kind of a difficult game plan to execute, I think.
Yeah, you're not like these old Vivi decks in standard where you can have like absolutely massive turn after bouncing the high noon. I mean, you can have
Or buying
decently
it
good
back
turn.
to do it multiple times, right?
Yeah, true. Um, Another card that stood out was Spell Pierce. I thought you said you didn't love that card, or am I thinking of someone else?
Yeah. No, I did say that, and that was another it was a similar issue where, without the same type of hard answers, I kind of wanted a different way to interact, to not just be straight cold to these cards, and I felt that that was the best way to do it. Um, but yeah, I wasn't too excited about it. That those are basically the slots that would have ended up being the pick your poisons, and I thought that those fit the game plans and the ratios best. But I wasn't super confident in which one was better. I
Yeah.
mostly just decided on Izzet because I expected a lot of mirrors. I thought Prowess was going to be pretty popular, um, and having the cleaner mana base is nice there. And maybe I was, coping a bit that there wouldn't actually be that many high noons, and I didn't actually look at all the lists, and I don't know what the average quantity was, but I know the people that I played against had it, so ended up getting punished there.
Yeah. You were right. Optimus Tom TV run the numbers, and Prowess was the eighth most played deck. We'll get into these stats, but the thing that stood out was that out of all the most played decks, the highest win rate was Simic Neoform, like somewhat small sample, 54. But if you look at these top numbers, like nothing's over 53, nothing's below 47 for the like top six decks. Just super even. Don't look like pros did like super great, but
It
um
did better than last week.
yeah, true. Um
Yeah, it's super balanced metagame. Honestly, the that's kind of the thing I noticed when I was testing for this event the most. It's just that every deck kind of just felt close. I think a lot of people got paid off playing, a comfort pick, if you want to say it like that, or like a deck they're more familiar with, and knowing their matchups. And yeah, like a lot of these decks are kind of hovering between, like you said, 47 and 53% win rate, and all the meta shares are kind of even too. Um, I didn't look at the meta shares for the other RCs, but for ours it was like 8 to 12% for like the top five decks or something like that. So super balanced in that sense.
yeah, now I was watching a bit of the ERC and Juice. I was making the point that probably better to just play a deck you know really well than try and pick the deck with the highest win rate, you know. In this case, like recently it's been Titan. So I mean that's an advice I give too, especially when the meta's so balanced, and we saw that especially play out in the US. Nathan Goldberg, who's I believe Nathan of the Guild Leaf on Magic Online, just Amulet Titan Master, and he won it all was Titan. So
Yeah, and he's not the only example either, right? Dom Harvey ended up top eighting RRC as well,
Canister
playing
came
Amulet. He's
in 25th in the European RC. He's back on the Pro Tour.
right.
That was nice to watch. And
So all the Amulet goats were kind of crushed it, and got paid off for their expertise.
yeah. I was going over the lists trying to see find you know some spice, but instead of finding a spicy list, I saw 18th place in the European RC. Sebastian Thaler, that's like a name I hadn't seen in many years, and he was like up and comer when I was already kind of established in 2006 or whatever. He won Rookie of the Year in what was it 2006? I think we looked it up. Um,
Yeah,
that's pretty good
assuming
memory
it's the
though,
same
because
Sebastian Thaler. I don't
yeah,
know if we're even confident that it is, but
I mean, I guess there is a chance. It's a different one. I didn't consider that. Um, but yeah, that was cool. See, he was actually playing Simic Ritual. The Bling version was Essence Flux that we talked a bit about. I saw a bunch of lists not playing Riddler as Essence Flux. I also saw some lists playing the Agent and Riddler, and just playing Riddler, you know, as a fair-ish card that you can still stack to Ritual, but just powerful card. It's also a card you can upgrade from subtlety. You know, you get to stack your salties to
Yeah,
get
you can go up the
Riddlers.
chain sometimes, or you can even warp Riddler and hit another Riddler. That comes up once in a while. Um, I think especially in post-war games, it's pretty strong to have access to that card when your opponent's interacting with you a little bit more. You know that they have like heats for your Oculus, and it's not always game over to do that. Stuff like that. Like it can be nice to have just extra like actual strong threats, or else you just risk creating a board of a bunch of nothings. That's easy to power through.
Yeah, I was hoping for something spicy. I know Aspiring Spike had some good results. Was at least one of his brews. It was a mono black sacrifice deck. Was the new Phoenix card, the new Phoenix vehicle. Um, just kind of fairish decks, but getting a lot of the sack triggers and whatnot. So not a ton of one Shintong either. There was one in the Jeskai Blink list that won the Japanese RC. Um, the thing that stood out of this list was the four discharge. Most people were just playing free prismatic ending as cheap removal. He had one ending and four discharge. One thing I liked made me feel good, anyways. That most of the Jeskai lists I looked at had more fables than Tefs. Felt all vindicated by that one. Um, but yeah, what happened in your turns? I saw you were 2-0. I was pretty excited. I saw you beat Domains in round one too. That's kind of a tough one.
I did. Yeah, that matchup it can be tough, but honestly, if they don't have Leyline Scion, like the normal games that you play against them are pretty winnable, I think. Like I wouldn't say that they're like super favored or anything, but after playing that matchup a bunch, I think it's a lot less scary than I initially thought. So, yeah, I ended
Really?
up beating it in round one. My opponent didn't assemble Leyline Scion, so that was fortunate. Um, and
The,
then post
the,
spore, I think that they were a little bit too reactive in the first round when I played against it, and I was kind of able to overpower all the reactive because they weren't putting any pressure on me, and I had a lot of time to develop. Uh,
the
but yeah, the second time I
yeah.
played against Domain Zoo, I think I got Leyline Scioned one time, and then he had High Noon after board. My first opponent didn't have High Noon as well, and that kind of helped as well.
Yeah, I looked at your results. You were 2-0, and next time I looked, you were like 3-3. And I checked the list. I don't know if that's what happened in the game, but literally, I think your first free loss, I think your fourth loss was Ruby Storm, but your first free losses, they all had two high noons in your sideboard. And I was like, I hope it's not the podcast who like cost him his tournament, people listening to the podcast and adding a bunch of high noons to their sideboard when they weren't playing on too. Um, but
Well, yeah, my first loss was to Esper Blink, and he had three High Noons and four Wrath of the Skies after board, so he
jeez.
came ready to to be Prowess, that's for sure.
Yeah. I was looking at the Matrix, and the Matrix kind of disagrees with your assessment of is it Sprouse against the main zoo. You get a 37% win rate for Sprouse,
37.
especially in open deck lists. I mean, in game one, they can just mulligan a little aggressively. I mean, you don't want to, end up with an unplayable five card hand, but do you think
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
your first domain, do you feel like maybe he kept a bad hand or,
I think in game two he probably kept a bad hand,
yeah,
yeah. Um, so that's definitely some of it. I will say though that the one Flood Maw and the one Aether Gust go a long way in this
yeah,
matchup because
for sure.
if you can take the Leyline off the table, then it completely changes the dynamic of the game. But yeah, that's a matchup where for sure I wish I had the pick your poisons. Those things are an all star in that matchup. It answers everything you care about.
Yeah, for people watching on YouTube, I'll have all the links of the RCs and the Matrix and stuff in description. Um, but yeah, you decided to run it back. Was it called an open?
Yeah, so it's a 5K cash open that they run on the Sunday of the RC always. It's just like it's kind of like the regular opens but with cash prizes instead. And then yeah, it has a trophy for first. Just a 1 day event. It was like 200 people, I think, maybe 220, something like that. Uh, Ended up coming second. I went back and changed my list to the list I wish I played for the main event, which was the green splash. I played three pick your poisons in the sideboard. had a commercial district in the sideboard too to go with. I actually played Winter Night Stories on Sunday instead of Stock Up, which is a card that I thought of in the middle of the tournament because actually I saw it in one of the domain lists. I think is the reason, and I thought that that seemed pretty nice. So I wanted to give it a try. But other than that, it was basically the same. The only other big change I made was I cut Violent Urge from my deck on Sunday.
Ooh,
Um,
I like that.
which is some yeah, it was something that I was thinking about throughout the week and I never really like kind of fleshed out the thoughts, but I don't know. I sometimes I feel like Violent Urge is kind of a pretty fraudulent card in the deck. It's really hard to turn on, especially in the matchups where it matters the most. I think is kind of the important distinction. Like turning it on in games that go 10 turns is pretty easy. You're going to find a DRC, your creature's going to die, you're gonna have delirium, but it's not super effective in those games, or not the type of card that you want. Like you wanna have it when you're trying to go fast, trying to do it on turn 3 or whatever. And in those games, it's very difficult, especially if they're not killing your creatures. You basically are required to draw Mishra's Bauble, um, which is not super likely. So I've had that card be bad for me more often than good, it feels like. The problem is that when it's good, it's great. So it's kind of hard to weigh that, especially in a deck with that much card selection. Maybe it's worth having access to. But I ended up cutting it and just playing more mutagenic growths, which I felt did more damage on average and was just better at smoothing out my hand because it costs 0. Like it's going to help you trigger your cutter on turn 2, or you know get lethal spells in when you have multiple 1 mana spells that you want to cast. So yeah, I just played more mutagenic growths and opened up some sideboard space by moving a heat to the main deck and a surgical extraction to the main deck as well.
Yeah, I mean, Jessica playing Bourse Energy on top. I'm assuming Violent Urge not as good in these matchups, right? When people have a
Yeah,
ton of removal, maybe not as good
not
in
great in the
open.
mirror either, I think.
Yeah, maybe
The
not great
mirror
in
really
open
comes
deck
down to
lists too.
cutter.
Hmm.
Sorry.
I was gonna say maybe not as good in open deck lists, even though it's pretty stock. It's still like nice to know when your opponent has it in their deck and when they don't. And
Yeah, I think that I did consider that, and that was part of my hesitation for cutting it for the main. My opponents not knowing that, or knowing that I don't have it, could change how they play the game. But honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like I think a lot of the times in the games where it's effective, like they don't really have a lot of good moves to play around it anyways. And again, the spots where you want it the most are against the uninteractive decks that wouldn't really have much to do in terms of counterplay. And in all the matchups where they do have counterplay, you don't really want the card anyways.
yeah, did you play the questing druids in the sideboard too on Sunday?
No, I played Winter
Just
Night
Winter Night
Stories
Stories,
instead.
yeah. That's a card that
Yeah,
actually we almost we kind of considered for the Pro Tour for the blue white bling deck. I can't remember if it was Theo who brought it up, but yeah, I've seen that card in a lot of the main zoo lists as you mentioned before even I mean that card's been around for a while in these decks, right?
yeah, Zoo's been playing it for a little while. Uh, I was playing the stock ups. The questing druids were a little too awkward, I think. After testing it more, like you just have too many reactive spells, and if you ever cast it and it resolves, and you hit an unholy heat or something, and they don't have a good target, like that's really awkward. Especially considering they can wait until your end step to cast like their failure or whatever, so you don't even get to time walk them in that sense. So yeah, I wanted to play like the more concrete card advantage spell because I think it is important to have more stuff like that when you're boarding into a slower deck. Um, and I think Winter Night Stories actually felt better than Stock Up did. It kind of allows you to. One of the issues with those Wrath of the Skies matchups is that you want to keep a density of threats, but you also don't want to over deploy them. So you want to. I end up keeping in most of my creatures, but sometimes some of them stay in my hand because I don't want to get blown out or anything like that. And in those spots, Winter Night Swords is really strong because if you can discard a creature to it, like you get a huge amount of advantage. And it also came up a couple times where like I got to tap my DRC to flash it back to not attack into a Riddler. That's kind of a small upside as well. So I think it's, and I didn't get to do it, but you could also, surveil it or mill it, stuff like that. But and that's kind of nice as well.
Yeah, he also decided not to have any of these big creatures, neither Murktide nor Oculus, in either of the tournaments.
Yeah, I kind of hated both of them, to be honest. I thought it was better to just be a better Corey deck in those matchups than to try to beat them with a fat creature because of solitude. Like I found that it wasn't really that effective if they had such clean answers already in their deck.
Yeah,
Um, the issue with that, of course, is High Noon though, because if you become too reliant on Corey as a game plan, you can get blown out by that card, which is why I think it was a mistake for me not to play the pick your poisons if I was going to go that direction.
yeah.
I think
So
if I stayed blue red, I needed a Murktide or something like that.
so how did that tournament go? How are the pick your poisons? Did you feel like maybe the fact that it was closed deck list gave you an edge since you're playing a really streamlined, very aggressive deck that can punish people that keep loose hands? How did it?
Yeah,
What was the
possibly.
main difference that I mean, obviously variance, but something more than that, or
No, I mean the way that it played out, like the pick your poisons were fantastic. I played against Domain twice in the Sunday event as well, and I
oh
beat it both
wow,
times. One time my opponent went like Leyline of the Guild Pack Mountain Pass, and then I pick your poisoned it, and they cast
jeez,
no spells for the rest of the game, like stuff like that. And I killed a ton of high noons. Yeah, the pick your poisons were great. The Winter Night Stories were great. I played against Jeskai a couple times. I played against a blue white control deck. It was good there. Yeah,
yeah,
the closed decklist thing maybe helped a bit. It's hard for me to gauge that because I don't know what kind of hands my opponents are keeping all the time. But I think for the most part, most of my opponents knew what I was playing, so I'm not actually sure that that was that relevant.
yeah,
Um, I think almost every single one like asked me how prowess was for me the day before or whatever, like as I sat down. So
yeah.
I think most of them the jig was kind of up. Maybe the violent urge thing was relevant. Maybe they were playing around that card, but other than that, I think they kind of knew what I was doing. So maybe they weren't keeping bad hands or anything.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Maybe people are like, yeah, there's like, X% chance that he audibled after doing poorly and
True, true.
playing something different. It remind me to pick your poison. I mean, not that that card's new to modern, but I was like you right theorizing it. It wasn't even any list you saw.
No, it's a card that the deck played a long time ago,
Yeah,
actually. So when Slickshot first got printed, I played some Prowess, like it was before Corey, obviously. It had like Slickshot and Soulscar Mage. And I know when I played it then, I had Pick Your Poison in the sideboard, and I don't think that was unusual. I think that was pretty. Oh, because the deck had Questing Druid as
yeah. I
well.
remember
You
that
you
card being
played you play
everywhere.
you
And
played Questing Druid as a threat because you didn't have Corey, you didn't have like some of these better options. So I guess you already had the green in that spot. Then the pick your
yeah,
poison
I
makes
think
more sense.
that's when Mangu spammed that deck, and I don't think I was a huge fan of Questing Druid, but yeah.
But
So
yeah, recently it's only been blue red. Yeah, I don't. I I came up with, or I was trying to come up with an answer for High Noon out of Jeskai specifically that wasn't embarrassing against their
yeah,
deck, and then that's when I thought of Pick Your Poison. It wasn't a unique thought though, funnily, because I had 5-0 to league with it, and then when I went to go check it on Goldfish, I noticed that Young Dingo had 5-0 to league at like the same time with Pick Your Poisons as well. So, not exactly like an innovative thought or anything. It's just kind of some old tech that I think is kind of prone to come back.
yeah, no, for sure. Especially if you doing so well. I don't know. Did you go over some lists this weekend? See if anyone was did well
I
with
know that there
pick
was
your
some
poison.
people at my RC. I didn't check the other ones though.
Yeah,
Um, but I did see some people playing day two as I was walking around who were playing Teamer Prowess.
yeah. There was one guy, Pietro Maria Oltolina, who I think it was the same because I saw him on coverage during the Swiss, and looks like he ended up making top eight, and he had Thoughtseize in this sideboard as well as Eddie Mercrab, and can't remember. I think it was a combo matchup. He got paired against a Song of Creation player, and the Thoughtseize looked pretty decent there. Yeah, we already took a quick look at the Matrix. I'm gonna bring it back up for people who are watching on YouTube, but incredibly balanced, gonna run through the numbers. Um, Jeskai Blink, 14% of the meta. That's the 4 RCs of this weekend. Then you have Boris Energy, 11%. Titan, 8%. Prowess, 8%. Affinity, 7%. The main two, 6% for the most played decks. And yeah, none of these decks have like Boris Energy did the best basically at 53% win rate, which is the opposite of the Pro Tour, where I think Boris Energy was what, like 47% win rate. Um,
Yeah.
People did apparently adjust to Titan, slightly below 50% win rate, but looks like some of the specialists got paid. Um, Anything that stands out to you when you look at these numbers?
No, I mean, well, yeah, we mentioned Simic Neoform earlier doing having a good weekend. That one was kind of surprising to me with the rise of Prowess, although it was only 8%, so maybe not that big of a rise. But yeah, I mean the meta percentages are quite nice, right? Like 14% being the most played deck. That's kind of a lot different than what we've been experiencing modern recently. And then like a pretty flat trend after that too, like down to the fifth most played deck is still above 7%.
Yeah,
So
even Ruby Storm,
um,
50% win rate, like slightly positive win rate.
slightly positive, yeah, which is saying a lot for that deck, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, there seems to just be some like ebb and flow in modern right now, where I mean, that's just the sign of a good metagame, right? Where some decks become disrespected a little bit, and then they're poised for like a bit of a comeback, but that comeback's not drastic or anything. We're talking about a few percent, and then maybe that deck gets more respected, and then something else rises to the top. I think Belcher actually had a decent weekend. I'm not sure if you can show what the percent was there, but I know it
Belcher,
top aided RRC and the Japanese one.
Dimitri Belcher,
Um,
2% of the meta, 50.3%.
yeah, so not obviously 50% is 50%, but that's a bit up from where it was before, and yeah, it top aided both the Japanese RC and RRC. Or not top rated, sorry for RRC, but top 12 for the PT invite. It was actually a buddy of mine who's been playing a lot of Belcher. He's um, definitely a fanboy of that deck and quite good at it. So another case of people getting rewarded for their deck knowledge, I think.
Yeah, I was trying to go through some of the list, final spice, and um, one cool card is that the winner of the European RC, Daniel Toledo, was playing 2 Mana Tithe in the main deck. Must be his pet card, because that's not a card you see very often. And I feel like that card is these kind of cards are worse in open deck lists. There's an argument of like, oh, now they know it's in your list, so they're going to be, maybe play around it when they shouldn't. But I feel like overall, that card should get much worse if you're in a close spot and you have the choice. And it's not super easy to um, with no other flash cards. I kind of honestly kind of hate it. I mean, I guess you have Discharge and you have Sraven Charm, but I feel like that makes
Well,
so little sense to me.
I think when we're talking about one mana cards, like it's not as necessary to have, other things you can use with that mana. Like it's not like when we were talking about No More Lies in Jeskai, right? Where the only punish is Felia, or the only squeeze rather, and there's not a lot of other ways to use your mana effectively. I think when it comes to just keeping up one mana, like if you can envision matchups where setting them back a turn is like super relevant, or countering a key spell on a key turn, I could see it being effective. But I definitely agree with you where it's certainly the type of card that is much worse in open deck lists. So it's surprising to see it perform so well at a regional event and not see it do well online or anything.
Yeah, one thing I do like is that he didn't play the basic mountain, only 2 basic planes. I'm assuming he maybe added a fetch land, and there's, I guess, the thing of you keep up fetch land. If they play into it, well, you get them. If they don't, you can fetch Parlor. So maybe that's the kind of
That's the one mana spell. Yeah.
yeah, the 1 mana spell. I was curious. I was like, I took a look at the mana. I was like thinking maybe I'd see a third Parlor, or but that extra fetch land kind of makes sense then, and Yeah, I mean, I guess modern you can't really afford to in any formats really, even limited these times. Wasting a mana is kind of tough. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch the. I'm sure he got to a bunch of interviews. I'm sure if you go check out the coverage, I'm sure he someone brought it up. People love that stuff. Um, and Philippa, the casters were just showcasing how diverse the format was, which is not like necessarily a good thing, like, you know, in itself, but I think the games in modern are just also really usually pretty interesting, pretty fun, pretty interactive. Mengu was making a point, it's a point that I've heard him made on stream before on his stream that he thinks that the solitudes, the pitch cards, the free cards are amazing for modern. It lets you catch up when you're on the draw. It lets you interact. And we've talked about it. I'm sure on this podcast many times before the bias of it was better before. Pre-modern Horizon and um
One
and
one of my favorite things that people say about old modern, that it's something that I've mentioned to people before when this topic comes up, is that it feels like, when someone spends 3 mana on a 7 mana spell, that's okay, but when someone spends 0 mana on a 2 mana spell, that's not okay, and that perception is kind of funny to me. Um,
yeah, these cards are also like
I personally agree with Mengu a lot. Like, I think these reactive free spells are extremely good for modern. Like, I think that they've kind of created this environment where it's okay to play a reactive deck, basically, where like it just wasn't acceptable before. And I think it has a lot to do with these cards, and I don't even think that they're that egregious. Like, you can feel the cost of putting a card like Solitude or Force Negation into your deck in matchups where they're not fantastic. And those are conscious choices that people are making that I think is healthy for the format.
yeah. I mean, I think if anything, maybe people play too many Solitudes Legion in their lists.
Right.
But yeah, and you just have like just having better cards mean that you don't have to just bank on your sideboard and guessing right. You actually can have reasonable answers, being reactive, but also having like reasonable cards in your deck and not having to play. I don't know the stuff we used to play in Blue. I mean, I played Jace, Architect of Thought, and Gideon Jura as my win cons in Blue White Control and a modern
Right.
PT. And you're like, should I play Oust or. It's kind of rough. And
Like, do people forget that, like, you used to get your land Karn liberated on the play turn 3, and you would just have zero spells in the entire format that can interact with that? Like,
yeah.
it was just absurd, right? Like, it just was not fun.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great. Um, yeah, there's one, I guess I feel like the biggest innovation this weekend that I saw anyways was Grixis Affinity. And I saw Grixis Affinity, and first I saw it in the Optimus Tom TV post where it was kind of the best decks was at least 5 copies. And I was like, I guess it's just, mislabeled or something weird or sounds like a random coincidence. 11 people played Grixis Affinity and it had a 58.5% win rate. Um, and no, it was mostly, I guess, a Japanese deck. And two in the top eight, and the black card is Salvage Titan. Salvage Titan is the 6/4 for black, black 4. It's an artifact creature. You can sack 3 artifacts instead of paying its mana cost. And you can also remove 3 artifacts from your graveyard to return it to your hand. And it's especially good was weapons manufacturing. So you said you saw that online, you thought people were memeing, but it kind of makes sense. It's really nice with weapons manufacturing. One of the players played Emery too, so you can mill it, get it back, and then cast it. It obviously helps against Rab Disguise and potentially Stony Silence. I did not see that coming. I was, haven't been paying a ton of attention to Modern. But looks like it might be the real deal, and yeah.
Yeah, I thought yeah, like you said, I played against it on Moto. I thought it was, you know, I had an opponent cast it against me on turn one time, and I was like, oh, that's neat. But it seemed to me like it was fairly win more, right? Like they already had a good draw in order to enable that. But like you said, being able to deal some, non-combat damage with your weapons manufacturing is relevant, and being able to have another big creature besides Kappa Cannoneer that dodges Wrath of the Skies is nice. So definitely kind of effective there. I do think it's really neat that this is a card that we've seen in Modern in the past a lot, but I feel like this is the first time that it's being cast as Garfield has intended. Like every other time I've seen this card, it's been like a Sword of the Meek combo deck or something like some enabler. So it's kind of neat to see that. I will say that I had some friends who tested a lot of affinity for RRC, um, and they ended up playing a lot of copies of Arcbound Ravager, which I think was kind of serving a similar purpose. Just this alternative threat that lets you go a little bit big when you need to go big instead of wide. It lets you take advantage of your weapons manufacturing tokens, and I think that they ended up doing pretty decently. And I thought that that was a good innovation that perhaps is like a little bit less all in than a card like Salvage Titan is, but I haven't played with either myself, so maybe the power level of Salvage Titan is just way up there.
Yeah, I don't think I've even tried Ravager. I know that card's been tried before. I remember Doomwake playing a version was for Ravager, maybe for manufacturing, and I think he was
Yep,
even
that's what they
claiming,
had.
in classic streamer fashion, like you should definitely have four Ravager in your artifact deck. But anyways, but yeah, Ravager doesn't sound like super amazing to me. I mean, I'm kind of also a manufacturing hater, uh, based mostly on my sample size playing or my experience playing was the cards. Not the biggest sample size, but still like 10, 15, 20 matches maybe with that card was in my deck and never doing anything for me. But I could be sold will salvage Titan, and it's funny because it's got to be kind of a coincidence because there's three different Japanese players who all had salvage Titan in their deck, but they were all playing like different lists. And one just had the one. One had two Emery and a Titan. One had free Titan, free Emery, I think. One had like no Emerys but two Titans. So it was like maybe it was a Japanese player on Magic Online. I'm just wondering why specifically like that happened in Japan, but it didn't catch on like anywhere else. Um, I guess,
Yeah, it could have been some player there advocating for it, and although he didn't have like a specific list or anything, he was just suggesting that
yeah,
that card was worth playing. But yeah, the various numbers of weapons manufacturing is interesting too. Like the three lists that you were looking at all had different numbers of that card too.
yeah.
Um,
You,
so
you,
yeah, maybe
you,
maybe some more exploration there.
yeah, you also get a token back right away, right? From if you have the
If you have manufacturing, yeah.
no, yeah, manufacturing, but also Pinnacle
Oh, if you have either,
Emissary.
I
Yeah,
suppose.
if you have
Yeah.
either, you get a little payback, a little rake back on your Titan right away. So
This list that you're looking at is especially interesting because in addition to the Salvage Titan, there's also two Haywire Mites in the main deck that can only be activated through Mox Opal, um,
yeah, that
and
is
one
real.
drum.
Yeah, that is really aggressive. I think people usually don't even play the first one these days. It doesn't hit anything but Fable against Jeskai Affinity, but even when that getting a Fable can be decent. Yeah, I guess just more more cheap artifacts, maybe less spells. We see no rebuke in the main, no rebuke, no galvanic blast. I'm always a big fan of just trying to streamline your deck to the max and play basically as little, reactive spells as possible if you can get away with it. So honestly, big fan of this list of this build. I like the salvage Titan tech. I like the trying to maximize your opening hands. Um,
Yeah, you
Does
maximize your opening hands, and he's also kind of maxing on these Emeries as well.
yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. Maxing on Emery as well, right? He's got a lot of targets. He's got the spell bomb, both equipments. So yeah, I definitely agree with you where it's like sometimes the difference when you play decks like this, and it was similar to the blue white blink deck that you guys played at the Pro Tour. It's like one card different in your hand is like the difference between a great hand and a non-functional hand, right?
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes that can define whole tournaments. So I think I agree with streamlining it and you know less nonsense and then be reactive after board when it's more necessary.
Yeah, for sure. Um yeah, in our case it was like I did end up I think caving in and maybe having the one consign in the main, one consign to memory. But especially when it's you're playing Solitude and it's not a white card, or in this case playing Affinity and you're adding non-artifact cards. Um, but yeah, that would definitely be on top of my list of like real decks to try. I was also hoping for some some blue white blinks, some of the new cards. The maybe an updated blink version was Momo, the 1/1 that reduces cost. Maybe more Wanshi Tongue decks. I know Cub had a showing in Yogg. Yogg had a decent showing, qualifying a bunch of players. Did you see any like decks really based around the new cards from Avatar?
Yeah, so I saw a couple Yogg players with Cub and one Samwise player with Cub as well, I think. I'm not sure how they performed, but I saw them playing, at least one of them on day two as well. And then on Sunday in my event, actually, I think I was at 4-0 or 5-0. I played against a player who was playing like it was kind of like blue white blink, but more control. Um, with Washington and 4 copies of Path to Exile on the main deck, and just some more controlling cards rather than the aggressive blue white stuff, and a cleaner mana base in the Jeskai deck. So I guess similar to a Jeskai Blink deck, but with a cleaner mana base and no Ragavan, no Flage, and 4 Washington, 4 Path to Exile, and that it seemed pretty good. He ended up top 8ing as well, I think.
Nice.
And yeah, he was the Path to Exiles were kind of annoying with the Washingtons, and I had to respect that. And additional flash threats that are kind of big. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah, you didn't have time to try anything right.
No, I mean, I was like after we talked last week, I was like thinking about a blue white deck with like White Orchid Phantom and Washington and Path Exile and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I didn't. I started thinking about the mana base and it didn't really work, and I ended up running out of time and just deciding to lock in Prowess at that point.
Yeah, did you consider kind of rough was what one, two basic mountains in that deck, right? You can't really even play it in your sideboard. You can't cast that card.
No, yeah, there's 3 mountains
Yeah.
even, and yeah, it's not worth it. I don't even think it would be that good, even if you could play it.
Yeah,
Um,
like you forget how rough double blue on turn two is in a magic deck and how much you have to give up. I actually played a league. I played a couple leagues was Washington. I played the one league was a mono blue list. That's the one I recorded for YouTube. And my only combo was Washington was 4 Field of Ruin. Um, I actually went 3-2. Honestly, it was I lost to two Riddler decks. I think I lost to Goryo's Riddler deck, and then I lost to Jeskai Blank, and I beat a few other things. I beat I think maybe a Prowess deck, and honestly, even 4 Field of Ruin kind of screwed me once. Oh, and I beat Affinity. It was funny. I played like this long match against Affinity, and he was like, told me in chat, I don't know what are you up to, because I hadn't drawn a Washington in like 2.5 games or something, or so he was wondering what I was doing just playing that mono blue deck, but it was kind of cool. I got to play was Balian the Parch for the first time, which is a 2/2 for 2 blue that flips into a land. I think the it's like Hydro Fluid Villain or something. The Spider-Man name. It's a Spider-Man card. That card was kind of effective. And honestly, even for Field of Ruin, yeah, it kind of screwed me sometimes. I didn't have the mana to cast Wan Shinton, but the card itself was just super powerful. I was playing, Tamiyo, one mana interactive spells. I had one Mox Amber because I had a few legends. I was playing a bunch of counters, a few Riddlers and stuff. And that deck was, I felt like it had legs. I think Washington's just really busted card, but it's also kind of impossible to fit in. It's kind of really hard to fit in a modern deck. I mean, the winner in Japan had one. I'm guessing I think the most of the lists I saw didn't even have the one in it. It's a good late game card. Um, and you were talking about the White
Yeah,
Orchid Phantom. It's like even harder when you try to play a second color, let alone a double white spell
a
to
double
combo with
color.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the card almost feels like just not good enough to play on its own. So like you want like a little bit something more for it, but then once you decide that you want a little bit more, it's like it's kind of hard to build at that point, I think. Um yeah, like
Yeah.
just slotting it into Jeskai, even slotting it into Jeskai, it's like that deck has like two off color basics, two Sacred Foundries, a red white Surveil land. Like there's an Arena of Glories. Like there's a lot of lands that don't cast it, and sometimes you need to cast it on two, and it's not very consistent at doing that.
Yeah, you do have Fable and Ragvan. You make extra mana. You have games that go long, so it's not like it's only good on turn two. But yeah, when I was playing these decks, I also tried a blue white version. I started a league. I think I started one free, but I think that was like kind of an asterisk. Maybe I was like either punting or something went
Oh, it's in the
wrong.
C40.
Yeah, maybe not a 4 but um, yeah. What I found out though is when you have that card into play on turn two, good things usually happen. So the build was, yeah, it was a blue white bling deck, but you have to give up Flagstone. I had one Flagstone. I had no Witch Enchanter. Extra Mystic Gate. I was playing I was trying Ang Swift Savior to combo with Sphelia, as well as a bunch of Teferi to combo with Sphelia. I think my deck was maybe a little clunky though, but yeah, I wonder if just maybe some kind of blue red wizards deck with some Wanchitong, or just blue black. Blue black frog was that might be the best use of the card. Just playing one or two in these decks and getting a little
Yeah,
boost.
Blue
But
Black Frog I think could be a good candidate because that's a deck that already wanted a heavy amount of blue sources, and it kind of fits in as like an additional threat beyond the high quality ones that the deck has. Like it's kind of supplemented in the past with some mediocre ones. And it plays well in the flash game plan, right? That's just a counterspell deck, so I think it could make some sense there. But yeah, it almost feels like just a little bit not enough if you don't have like anything to combo with it, and blue black doesn't have any combos, I don't believe.
yeah, no, it's tough. I guess it's maybe good that it's not just how do you say ubiquitously good, and that every blue deck should play four. That's probably not what you
Right.
want.
No,
Um,
definitely not.
I was wondering if some of the Neoforms list I didn't really or not Neoform birthing ritual blue green ritual list would maybe like adopted that card. I didn't really skip through the list, but I think I would at least give that mono blue list if people bought the card, maybe someone out there pre-ordered their cards, their Wan Tong and want to play with them. Um, there's another point Mengu was making, just how you can tell he just loves his paper cards, and he was like, it's just his advice is just play your cards, just play with the cards that you spend your money on, you know.
The
It's
buy high, never sell mentality from Mangu.
yeah. But yeah, if someone's looking for a list with Wan Tong, and especially if you like these kind of blue decks, control decks, or tempo blue decks. So it was kind of good. Um,
One deck that we haven't talked about yet that I think, I think if there is a candidate for a deck that isn't currently good in modern that might end up being great, is the blue red artifact cutter deck. I think we might have talked about it last week on the podcast. Actually, it ended up coming second in the Las Vegas RC. Joseph Puglisi came second with it, which is it's actually cool. His brother ended up coming second at the last USRC. So brothers
oh
in arm
wow.
qualify for worlds, back to back RCs, which is awesome. But yeah, this deck is really cool. Yeah, I think I mentioned it last week. Slacks has been playing it on Moto. Jesse Hampton,
I don't
he ended
remember
up
we
top
talking
eighting
about
a
it.
couple. Sorry.
I said I don't remember we talking about it, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So maybe we didn't. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that Slacks Jesse Hampton had top eighted a couple challenges with this deck. Or a very similar build. It's got Corey Steelcutter, like the artifact package, Emery Tamio, Bobble, Mox Opal, Mox Amber. And then, rather than building to a big board or whatever, it just plays Quantum Riddlers and Corey Steelcutters and just kind of grinds your opponent out with that stuff. And yeah, I think this deck is kind of. I thought it was kind of interesting when I saw it on Moto. I didn't end up testing it, um, but it seems like I'm not exactly sure all the changes that Joseph made. I know that there's like one fewer cutter, which I think makes some sense. I'm not sure if those Flame of Norse were there before, but um, just a solid mid-range card. You have a lot of wizards already, and this seems like the type of deck that could end up being really, really strong, I think.
Yeah, that's one of the decks I've played the most in modern. Like the past year, I played ton. I was really like in love with the Emery, Tamio, bunch of Mox Shell, and my issue with that deck is it was just not good enough against Boros Energy between Rab the Skies and them just outclassing, your tokens was, if their creatures get out of hand. Um, we did theorize Riddler a lot in these blue red artifact decks. I personally never tried. I never put the card Quantum Riddler in any of these affinity decks, but I guess in that shell it makes sense. You've got extra mana from Mox Amber, um, playing a bit more of a mid range game. We see 4 Unholy Heat in the main and free rebuke as well as Bolt Serenade. That's like a lot of interaction for that list, but that
You're
kind of
also really
makes
good at
sense.
dumping your hand too, and getting a draw two off like the warp early and stuff like that.
Yeah, one card I used to have in my deck that I really liked, especially um, in this meta where Ragavan's still really popular, is Lavadart. It's a bunch of spells with Steel Cutter. You can mill it of Emery. I think that's kind of an underplayed card in this deck. We see no copies of it. We see like a couple Fire Magics in the sideboard, 4 Unholy Heat, and a Bolt in the main. I think Lavadart is. I felt like that card was pretty legit for me, and it was not just like fancy fancy deck building. But yes, second in the USRC and I think 26th in the um,
The
European
European one.
RC. And the list is fairly similar. I guess was repeal not in the
Yeah,
US?
so yeah, that's the big difference. It seems like
Wow.
I had forgotten about that. Yeah, so the Slacks list online had four repeals, and this list a lot more similar to the one that Jesse had been playing. And then yeah, Joseph opted to just have more pieces of real interaction rather than just playing repeals.
That's surprising to me. I felt like when I added, I mean, that was a while ago, but I felt when I added repeal to the deck, it took the deck to the next level, and it helped the Boris energy matchup. Bouncing, Cat token of a Johnny was huge. Just really good in general. But I guess having all these interaction spells in the main means you you get more room in the sideboard, as that's Unholy Heat Rebuke, maybe cards you would have in your sideboard. We see Consign. Even though I will
Yeah,
say,
maybe it lets you play a better a better actual mid-range game against like Wrath of the Skies and stuff rather than being reliant on just being a good cutter deck. And it kind of checks out, right? Because he's playing less cutters as well, so maybe that's how he feels.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It'd be interesting, but I felt like Repeal was just phenomenal in that deck. Like did everything he wanted to do, but maybe
There's
it
also
was
Boomerang Basics now. If you wanted more copies of Repeal or different, I actually don't know which one would be better.
Repeal. I mean, bouncing cat token and drawing a card at instant speed
That's a big
is
upside, yeah.
yeah,
But being
that's
able to like, bounce a Riddler or something and like actually regain the board,
sorcery speed.
just
Sounds
something to think about.
yeah.
I think it's worse too, but
Maybe lessons we were talking about grand drum.
I did search up. So it's funny. I was looking at redirect lightning for Izzet Prowess,
Ooh.
and I realized it was a lesson, and I was like, the card ended up being bad, but I was like, oh, it's a lesson. Like, I wonder if I can get a lesson package into the sideboard. So I ended up looking up all the learn cards. None of them are good,
Very
unfortunately.
very good use of
We're,
your
we're gonna
time.
we're
I
gonna need
lost
we're gonna need an upgrade to the learn mechanic in the new Strixhaven set if we want to do some learning in modern. I think.
dude, I lost to that misdirection so badly. I don't know if you saw in our Discord. My opponent I cast Path to Redemption on their creature. They misdirected to my only creature. So the genius that I am tried to save it was Avatar of the whatever, give it hexproof basically. Because I was like, my reasoning was like, well, if my only creature has hexproof, then he can't redirect it to anything, and it still worked. And I was
Because it's
like,
your spell.
yeah, but I was like thinking about the old like when you replenish confiscate, you can steal a shroud or hexproof permanent. You know that weird rule where it comes
Oh,
from.
sure, yeah.
And then Reed was like, "Are you sure it's not just because it's your spell and hexproof is not shroud?" I was like, "Ah, yes, that is way more simpler and probably way better explanation." Um, so yeah, not only did it misdirect, but I also just spewed a trick for no reason. Um, yeah, that card. I mean, that card's like I logged into Croaky's stream for like 2 seconds the other day, and he was blowing out someone was misdirecting a removal spell, and that's pretty.
Yeah, I thought it would be nice, and then the issue I had with it, like almost immediately after putting it into my deck, was that if they solitude your creature on an empty board, you don't really get to use it.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah,
not even an empty board, like if they don't have another creature. So that alone was enough awkwardness for me to kind of dismiss it, I think, because that would be the best use case if you could like change the solitude to target itself or something.
yeah. Dude, that modern format somehow perfectly balanced. Who knows? Maybe we'll see. No need for banter right
Perfectly
now.
balanced modern, just in time to not play modern for 6 months.
Yeah, the first feature of next year is what is standard again.
Standard, yeah. I think both the first two are,
Well, I'll still be
or
looking,
maybe we don't know.
still looking
Not
forward to
positive.
playing modern after Worlds. Unless standard is just awesome, but yeah, just try a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. Play more with Wan Shitong. Maybe one of the spikes deck. I want to try maybe my Drumleaf Grand. Boomerang. Maybe threw in Boomerang basics in the mix or Salvage Titan and Affinity. I love the Affinity deck. So no,
Lots to
yeah,
try.
yeah. Because like, so we have Worlds in 10 days, so we will be taking a week off next week, unless we figure out some way to record off a laptop or something. But I doubt it.
Oh, live midweek metagame
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun in
from the house.
person. We'll see. I'll see if like maybe the logistics are not that hard, but because we have world standards, I think the RC season already started its standards,
That's right. Yeah, and the next RCs are standard as well.
and then okay, so the RCQs and the RC are both standards.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, because the RCQs right now are for not the upcoming RC, but the RC after that, which I think is also going to be standard. But the upcoming RC is standard. The current RCQ season is standard. Worlds is standard, and the next Pro Tour is standard. So a lot of standard coming up.
Yeah, so I guess people will be excited to have our full standard worlds breakdown when we come back. Hopefully,
Yeah, when we surely break it, right?
when we break it, yeah. Currently, someone already broke it. They're just playing blue, right? I was just looking at the one showcase challenge from this weekend, and it's Doom Switch, or yeah, Doom Switch, who just won, was updated version of blue red. But there was a few interesting. There was some interesting decks. There was blue green was Cub. There was um, mono white. I think came in second. Just mono white Pixie was the new
Yeah, we see
land.
some of the old mainstays like Demir mid range and Jeskai control, like
Yeah,
some of the non-surprising things, right?
yeah. So we're gonna be honest. I've played very little standard and mostly focused on limited. I think you haven't played much standard either, so it's not even like we're hiding that much. But definitely looking forward to. We're getting together pretty early to like on Friday. Usually we meet up on Saturday or Sunday, but I think it's gonna be nice that we have that extra day or two because there's a lot of works to do. Spike was saying how this set's like one of the best sets in recent memory for modern, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff that looks strong for standard too. We talked about it a bit, I think, in the past already, but seems like they
Yeah,
pushed.
a lot of potential in the set for constructed,
Yeah,
and it's a great limited format too. I mean, we haven't been talking about limited at all, but I've been having a blast drafting this format. So,
yeah. Do you like it better than
kind of a
EOE? Because
slam
I
dunk, I
was I was a
think.
pretty big EOE fan.
Yeah, I think I do like it better than UA. I don't know if that's if you're asking me, but
Yeah,
it's the most draft format I've played since the haunted house one. I for Duskmorn, I think is the last one I felt this good about, or this enjoyed about.
yeah. No, I've been trying to get in more drafts than usual too. I got David Root on my stream the other day. When was it? It was like the first day, so like 2 days after the set had came out. And I was drafting, I was asking him, how many times he had drafted or whatever. I don't remember how he came out, but basically he was like, "Oh, I've only drafted 15 times because work's been
Yeah, he's been
busy."
busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just only 15 times in. I don't even think it had been 2 days. I'd been like less than
I think it was
48.
like less than 24 hours.
No,
Yeah, I
no, less
remember
than
that. I was
48
there.
because it was like Thursday and set comes out on Tuesday evening. So it had been like roughly 2 days, a little less. And it was like, oh, I've only drafted 15 times.
That's low for his standards.
Yeah, no, I know. I think he got in what, like 60 drafts for the last one. 60 drafts in. We get what, 15, 20 at best. Um, but I know the format's really fun for people wondering. I always say a new limited format. If you like drafting, it's really hard for a new draft format to not be fun for that. At least like the first 10 to 20 drafts, you're gonna have fun
Right.
and stuff. And then if the format's actually bad, maybe it gets all old fast. But no, that one looks nice. There's dual lands at commons. There's a few you know, disparities in the colors and whatnot, but um, yeah, I've struggled with some of the weaker color combos to make them work. It's weird because you'll see these stats on 17 lands and it's all like between 53 and 58. And then when I'm playing these formats, sometimes I feel like some of the color win rates should be like 40%, not like, not slightly worse. But I guess it is
Like wayward, yeah.
all skewed because it's all good players. So maybe that kind of narrows the range of win rates. They
It
still,
does, right? Because like it's not linear, right? Like
exactly.
there's an upper bound, or like it gets harder to gain the game win rate the higher you get. So, it's gonna yeah reduce the gap
Yeah.
as you go higher. I think.
Yeah. I don't know anything else you wanted to mention. I mentioned a couple of modern leagues I played. I played mostly limited this week, so um, yeah, I shared my what I had to share, and I feel like the format just in some ways everyone was like super excited, but this weekend I was almost a little disappointed. I was hoping was for a little more spice. It was like super diverse. Sure, we had different decks every round, and the top eight had a bunch of different. But at the end of the day, I mean, maybe I'm being too too greedy, but it was still the kind of the same 10 decks that we know. And I don't know, I was hoping for something a little different. That didn't happen, but was only like what 4 days. It's pretty much
Right.
impossible. I'm sure
Yeah,
it'll
that's what I was
come
gonna
up.
say. Like, even if, unless there was something like extremely broken, like there was never really gonna be that big of an influence, right? Because there's just some limitation when it comes to, I don't want to just say like card availability, but just like the pressure of like, getting the new cards, trying the new things. Like there's just a huge subset of people that aren't even gonna take that
Oh
first
yeah,
step
no, of
forward in
course.
order to
It's
do
it's
that.
it's it's gonna be a waste of your times, like 95 times out of 100 or something.
Right.
Unless, as you said, there's something really obvious that needs to be, kind of investigated. But yeah, yeah. I don't know if you have any final thoughts on modern or anything you wanted to mention that we didn't have time to talk about. A deck list, a player.
Uh,
Shout
I
out
mean,
to one
shout
of
out to
your
Keith Capsick,
homies.
I guess.
Oh, I saw Keith. He was like 10-3 or something in the USRC. How would he end up? Or with
In
the
the
Canadian
Canadian
RC,
one,
I
he
mean. Yeah.
yeah, he ended up top eighting, so
Oh,
he
right.
qualified
Yeah.
for
I didn't
his
even...
first pro tour.
No way.
Keith
His
is,
first?
yeah,
Damn.
long time friend of mine, and
Yeah.
that reaction is like kind of the, I think if you asked, you know most of the Canadian mainstays, like who they wanted to qualify for a pro tour that hadn't yet, it would probably be Keith. Like he has been kind of a member of the Toronto Magic community for so long. Like I've known him for 10 years. I don't think there's a single person I've talked to about Magic more than Keith. So yeah, super happy to see him finally qualify. He put in a lot of work for
Yeah.
this event specifically, and it's good to see him get there. He's lost like at least two or three win-ins, like direct match win-ins for the
Jeez.
pro tour
Yeah.
before. So
Yeah, friend of the stream too. He pops up once in a while. I don't know how I met him. If it was through the face to face
he
when we're
was, yeah.
teammate on
So
face to face, maybe.
when we first teamed up
Yeah.
for team face-to-face games, he was our like content guy. He ran
Mm,
the face-to-face
right.
website, so he managed all our articles and stuff like that.
Yeah, because
Um,
he's in like I don't know if it's still called esports these days, but I knew he used to
yeah,
work in.
he does like esports media and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
cool. He
that
still does that.
it's he still does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and he took a pretty big break from Magic. Um, or like kind of a step back. Like he never like really fully disconnected or anything, but he wasn't like traveling for tournaments or anything. And then in like the past year or so, he kind of started traveling to events again and really testing.
Yeah. Stock Boris energy. Let's go
Stock energy.
to the Legend of Roku in the sideboard, which was Carson ran the numbers, but made us just for the EU one. I think it was the most played card in the EU RC, but mostly as a sideboard card, a replacement for Showdown of the Skulls.
Yeah, I think it might have been all the RCs, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, replacement for Showdown. I think it's a pretty big upgrade. I know Keith had really good experiences with it. He said it was phenomenal for him. Um, yeah, you get like one fewer card, but in exchange you just get like you get more mana to like actually spend on the cards you do get, and then you just get this like threat that has to be answered immediately, or else just it takes over the game on its own. So a really cool card.
Yeah, I've had it in limited once. It was pretty good.
Oh, it
Um,
must be nice.
yeah. Ironically, neither of the Boris Energy who top aided players who top aided in Europe had it. They had just a couple showdowns, one or two showdowns each. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
overall,
the two at the USRC had it as well though.
yeah. And then if you look at the top 16, some the Europe, some people had it. But yeah, should we kind of wrap it up. Maybe put our lives on the line.
Yeah, cap off modern with one final
Yeah.
commitment.
Let's see. Do you want to go first? Do you have one, or
Sure.
I
Yeah,
guess I know what
we
you're
can
gonna
do
pick. Go ahead.
that. Yeah, so life on the line, theoretical game. If you win, you pick a deck. If you win, you live. If you lose, you die. And for me, we're only talking about modern this week. I'm kind of still a believer in Izzet, prowess. You know, the numbers have been creeping up week by week, slowly but surely. The Jeskai matchup heads up flipped this week from 42% to 52%, like I thought it would. So I believe in the deck creeping up a little bit further, and you know everything is so close, and I kind of have the most practice with that. So I think I would go with that still.
I mean,
Kimmer
there's a
though, play
yeah.
Kimmer.
You talk about percentages, but there's a chance that Green Splash just really just has a massive impact. It flips a lot of the maybe not flips, but
Yeah.
I mean, in the main
No,
case, it
it could
might
change
lit.
it heavily.
Yeah, might
Yeah, and
flip.
that part is hard to tell because there's very little sample, but that's something that we could easily see down the line, just making massive impact on those matrices.
Yeah. All right, my turn. My head says the that affinity list was the salvage side, and I really like that ad, but I gotta go. Was after going 3-2 in the league, I
You're trusting it all on the 3-2.
and the tweaks I'm gonna make, I gotta go with mono blue one Shitong, just Tamiyo one Shitong counter spell. No need to get fancy with the card. Not even sure I'll run the full four field of rune. I was watching Spike playing a list, and it was just like something ridiculous, like 14, maybe not 14, but it was really low amount of blue sources to cast one sheet tongue onto. I think it's what we say last week. It's like you need 21, 20 or 21 to cast
Be
it
consistent, yeah.
reliably on turn two, and I think he had at most he had like 17. And I think he also had like the other. I don't know. It was like not didn't look very functional, but yeah. Um, yeah, mono blue on Shitong or maybe just the old wizard deck. Anyways, I'm running with it. All right. Well,
You're not trying to put four sunken citadels and 8 field of runes in your deck.
yeah, people are like, "Fucking Citadel." I'm like, no, for 4 cards. No, I'm not gonna do that. Plus, it doesn't make sense because you don't want to sack it on turn two, anyways. You want to wait till you have one
Right.
Shitong in
Yeah.
play. So yeah, no. But yeah, as always, if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening or watching. Edgar, where can we find you online?
You can find me at Edgar MTG on X.com or Blue Sky.
Yeah, you can find me streaming most days when I'm not traveling on Twitch, twitch.tv/yellowhat. I have a bunch of YouTube channels. Not really on social media that much these days. I'll post once in a while, but yeah. Thanks for listening. We will be back in 2 weeks, most likely. Probably no episode next week because we'll be testing for the World Championship Standard and Avatar Limited. And of course, we'll have the full breakdown, recap, all that good stuff when we come back. So,
Yeah. Will be a
yeah.
great episode when we come back, even if
Hope,
we
well,
don't do one next week.
hopefully great. Hopefully we'll have good news too.
Hopefully.
I did book my flight for Sunday, like I think it leaves at 2 p.m. or something. So if I make it to the top eight and win my quarters, I gambled. We'll see. We'll see if it paid off. I played the numbers. I was like, well, most of the time I'm not gonna. And then I get to get home a little earlier, and but yeah.
Yeah, I've never booked the early Sunday morning flight before, but I did this time, so maybe this will be like the, you know, the one time I get quote unquote punished
Oh,
for it.
not only Sunday but Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, yeah,
Ooh,
it's the full. It was by far the best flight, and I just said, you know,
yeah,
if I have to play Sunday, I won't be upset,
yeah,
and
exactly.
maybe I'll get punished for it.
Maybe it's like a reverse. I mean, it's like good luck charm. You just procure me.
Yeah.
We're just both gonna. Yeah, it was. Dude, that story. It was Pro Tour when I came second was Charvelcher.
Hmm.
Did you ever hear that story?
I think so. Yeah.
There's two French players, Nicolas Lavar and Yann Amon. They both made top eight. They were teammates. They were playing probably the better version. Probably they had the best deck in the tournament. They were playing blue black. Charvelcher combo was Vampire Tutor and the rest. Um, and they had, I think they were on the same flight on Sunday. They had both booked, an early flight. And I think they played the matchup like in their hotel room or they rolled a die. I don't remember the details, but yeah, one of them
Just so
that
one of them could make the flight.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm remembering the details correctly, but pretty sure that's what. And then they made up like some sort. I don't even remember what their justification was, or if they tried to cover it up, or if they tried. Anyways,
One person like mulligan to two or whatever, so they could play some fast games.
yeah, can't remember. But yeah, yeah. Thanks for listening, watching. Hope you all have a great week and rest of your day, rest of your week. We'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.